Town Board meeting to order for Thursday, July 7th at 5 o'clock. Number 2, roll call starting from my left.
Jumati here.
Minter here.
Asdell here.
Goldman here.
Bauerheit here.
Number 3, certified posting of the meeting, please.
I certify that on Friday, July 1st, 2022, the agenda for the Town of Rome Board meeting for Thursday, July 7th was emailed to the Wisconsin Rapids Tribune at 2:20 p.m., posted at the Rome Town Hall at 2:30 p.m., at Quick Trip Inc. at 2:35 p.m., and at Nakusa Port Edwards State Bank at 2:45 p.m.
Thank you. Number 4, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So
I'll,
moved.
I'll second with the exception of number 13. I ask that we postpone that to our next meeting, considering we have a number of items. I think that'll take us quite a while tonight.
How long would 13 take? I didn't see an issue. What was the intent on 13? That was your request,
Yes, it
correct?
was. But I'm
Okay,
asking
you-
that we postpone it to the next meeting, please.
Is the board agreeable?
I don't care either way.
Okay, we will postpone number 13.
Thank you.
Wait, we need an amendment. Yeah,
To amend? Yes.
Was that a,
I think you should state that.
Yeah, I'll amend
Thank you, that's what I
the
needed.
motion to exclude item 13.
Thank you, Bob.
okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Number 5, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 6, citizen comments. During the citizen comment period of the agenda, the town board welcomes comments from any town resident, not a member of the town board, on any item not on the agenda. Please know that pursuant to state law, the board cannot engage in conversation with you, but may ask questions. The board may refer the item to staff, a standing committee, or a future board agenda for discussion and action. Each person wishing to speak will have up to 3 minutes to speak. Speakers are asked to submit a card to the clerk treasurer providing their name, address, and topic for discussion. The board will also take comment from public on agenda items as called by the chair, but not during the citizen comment. Please note that once the board begins discussion on an agenda item, no further comment will be allowed from the public on that issue. We do have 3 citizen comments. I'm going to ask Tom Kemper. Please come up to the podium, state your name and address, please.
Hello, Tom Kemper, 1113 Kingsway. Just last month I was here, they were going to change the verbiage on that sign. I'm only talking about Lake Sherwood here. They were going to change the verbiage for the jet skis, that exemption. I went down there just before I got here, it's still 100 feet. And 4th of July weekend, we were there all weekend. Didn't see any boats or jet skis. Or shouldn't say that. We saw some that were closer than 100 feet, so if they change the sign, maybe it'll help. And then the next question I got, how do I get on the agenda so we can have a talk about jet skis and safety on Lake Sherwood? That's all I got. Thank you very much.
We can't get in discussion, but I believe our attorney can address the sign.
Pardon?
Correct?
Yeah, as I understand, we are intending to update the sign. Right now, since we did approve an ordinance amendment, I believe we were going to block out an area of the sign until we might potentially change the language.
Right.
But at this point, the signage, we won't be ordering new signs until
Thank you.
we review it.
But to be clear, the amendment to the town code explicitly related to that 100-foot exemption from shoreline, not jet skis. Jet skis always had 200 feet from shoreline,
That is the same on the sign and will be the same when it's reprinted.
Yes.
just so there's no confusion.
Okay, we have Mr. Michael Fisk. Please come to the podium, state name and...
I have a question here. Can I ask a question on that? It's not just from
We
shoreline.
can't get into discussion on that, sir. It's,
That's a question.
you can ask a question, we can't discuss it, but go ahead. You can ask a question. Please come to the microphone, state name, and we'll allow it.
My name is Daryl Jury, 894 Norwich Court. Just want some clarification. You guys are saying 100 or 200 feet from shoreline, but my understanding, the state law says that it's from a pier or a swim raft or any children in the water. not just the shoreline.
So
Yes.
I would just say you all can refer this to another department. I would just say that it would probably be best to call the police department and have that conversation. So it's very clear on what we are enforcing and what the law is.
It also would be included in the town board packet, which is all posted online under minutes and agendas, and the previous change to the ordinance would be located in there, and it would be marked in track changes to be able to see it. And they're all in date order.
Was that notified yet, the last ordinance change?
It was notified, it was posted, but as the gentleman said, the signs haven't been changed because we wanted to follow this conversation a little bit further before we invested in new signs.
But we were gonna put tape over it or something else. Like,
Yeah, and I think tape
that
did
can
get put
happen.
over at Arrowhead, but it maybe did not at Sherwood.
It
Yeah.
didn't at Arrowhead.
Okay, Mr. Fisk, please come to the podium, state name and address, please.
Michael Fisk, 988 Falk Court. First thing I'd like to say is I agree with that gentleman. That should be on Lake Camelot and also, not just Sherwood. But I'm here to talk about the deer. We have an increasing number of deer. They're growing geometrically every year. They're just becoming such a nuisance. I have no solution for it. I'm bringing it up to you, so maybe we can discuss with the DNR or whatever the problem is. But they destroy your property. They're a nuisance for when you take a walk with, and they're very dangerous around pets. They've almost become tame. They're not afraid of people. They're not afraid of dogs. They will virtually walk right up to you, and of course, you know what that does to your dog. We have a lot of dog owners here, I'm sure, and it drives them crazy. So here you are, you're trying to take a walk, deer walk up, and like I say, they're virtually pets. And I don't know if any of you live around the lake, but it's especially bad where I live up over on Lake Camelot. They're in your yard constantly, they dig in your yard, they eat your plants, they crap all over everything. They drive your dog crazy, and they won't let you have a walk in peace. And that's all I have to say. I would just like to have it brought up and see if there's a solution.
Thank you, sir. All right,
That's, if they quit feeding them, maybe that's an answer.
Tina Verdon, is that correct? Please state your name and address, please.
Tina Verdeen, 907 Oaks Manor Court. I'm just here to talk about the beach club. The entrance to our beach club is on Oaks Manor. It's not mowed, it's not taken care of. The railings are completely on the ground, and we're forced to use the other beach clubs as entryway. We should be able to have an opening that allows for handicap accessible if we need be. We do have other people on our area or on our street that are handicapped, and we don't have the means to be able to get down there. Secondarily, our beach club is completely grass, and it's not maintained. I'd like to know what I can do to get sand back in there, to actually create a beach versus having it grass. Other ones have beach, sand. That's kind of the point of it, but I'd like to know how I can go about getting that tilled up. And
Nick?
I didn't catch what lake are you in?
I'm on the Walden.
So it would be the
Camelot.
Property Owners Association is who you should go to.
Okay.
Yeah, we have no interest in beach club.
We can share your contact with the
Yes.
Property Owners Association.
All right, thank you. No action contemplated except possible referral to future agenda. Number 7, information updates, meeting recaps, recent correspondence, current events, and announcements. Lori, would you like to start, please?
I have nothing, thank you.
Dan?
Just a reminder that as the work continues on the library parking lot, Aspirus is giving us permission that people will be able to park in the Aspirus Clinic parking lot once the main library parking lot is closed as they continue their work on that small expansion.
Dan? Bob?
Should see some activity in the park next week for the band shell. Hasn't been marked out yet, but I understand that construction should start very soon.
I'd like to give a commend our Fire Chief, Mark Kane, as well as Sergeant Upton, participating in a youth youngsters parade on the 4th of July. I just thought that was a great advent for community activism. Mark, it was very nice. That's it.
Chairman, I have a couple things.
Of course.
First, the Kafka will start grinding at the transfer site tomorrow. We have had a 3-year agreement with Kafka about grinding the wood waste there. This obviously takes them a couple weeks to do with the wood waste that we have. We have been under the agreement for the past 3 years that wood chipping is done gratis because they've had a market for the chips that they produce, and we grind leaves at $500 an hour. The agreement with Kafka was always that we expected at some point the market would get full of wood chips and there wouldn't be as many buyers, and we may have to pay for grinding of this wood. That time has occurred, and when they come in tomorrow, we will be charged a flat fee of $5,000 for grinding what is there at the transfer site. But we need to get it done before we do fall cleanup because we would not have storage room, additional storage room for that wood waste. We are under agreement with Kafka. We will go out to bid. We'll do an RFP to see if there is interest in others grinding this wood waste and if it could be at a better price. But the last several times that we have put out an RFP, we've only had one bidder, and that's been Kafka. So I just want to make note that the moment in time where that's provided and the wood waste is sold because they get to keep it is probably done because we don't have the mills that burn that waste, and the market here has certainly had plentiful chips, especially with the solar project just north of us. And I think those chips went to Appleton, which we don't have the resources to send them to Appleton. So I just wanted to note that, and also then that you'll be seeing that activity and those piles within the transfer site. 9th Avenue right now is closed as part of it's our last piece of road work to get completed this year. There's a culvert replacement there. That's why that road is closed, because we had to take out the culvert. It will likely be reopened again tomorrow, but it'll be gravel covering that until mid-August when American comes back and we'll do the patch over the top. When they come back in August is when we expect for those other pieces that we've approved through ARPA to get done with paving, including the library parking lot.
This is 9th Avenue south of Apache you're talking about?
Yes. I just wanted to note, I handed out tonight the procedure for Adams County Health and Human Services regarding beach closure. We did have a beach closure on the county beach on Arrowhead. This is just a friendly reminder about what that policy is with the county. It's county-owned property. It's where they test on the lake or identify on the lake. It doesn't associate with other lake parcels that are there or with people that own on the lake. It's associated with that beach. And the process, they do have a daytime process and a nighttime process for communication. So you would have gotten an email from me when they announced this. And I apologize, the week goes fast if that was yesterday or the day before. But from a town perspective, I'm in charge of notifying the police chief, the public works director, the department heads, and I also notify Wendy since she takes the calls for the town, and the town board and 14 Mile. So from a town's perspective, that's who I identify and communicate with, and public health communicates with the other individuals within that call structure. So it's wanted to.
Jamie, could you possibly add Tri-Lakes to your list, because the county does not notify Tri-Lakes?
So I forwarded them the email, right after I had forwarded it to the town board. But Tri-Lakes is on the list for the public health officer to notify.
We'll see.
But yeah, I did forward it just to the Tri-Lakes account at that moment. It's not that, when you're typing in emails, I typed it. The last thing I want to have is Chief to come up, to have mentioned tonight is for Chief to come up. He has an SCBA, and I just wanted to show it so you guys could see what it looks like.
So following last month's budget resolution, we were able to order the first round of our replacement SCBA's. Contrary to all the beliefs in supply line shortage, they arrived. And also, when it came time to order, the opportunity was presented to me to buy 6 of the 8 that we had budgeted for at a demonstrator model price. They were used as demonstrators in the trade show in Indianapolis. With that savings, with that amount of savings and the money that was allocated from the town, the Town of Rome Fire Department fund threw in approximately another $3,500, and we were able to buy 10 units instead of the 8 we budgeted for. So we're 2 ahead for next year.
Good.
And so just a visual representation of what's coming in. I realize it doesn't mean much to many folks, but Jamie came back and picked it up and went, ugh. Coming up in the future, I'd like to have an evening session possibly where we can have the board and the police and fire commission come down. We'll tour the fire department. We'll go through some equipment, just so everybody can get their questions answered along the way, and we'll go forward from there.
Great, thank you.
I'm sorry, what do you use that for?
This is what the fireman would wear when he goes into the burning building. When this is his or her breathing air. So any condition that's hazardous to life, this is what we would have as a protection for our breathing air.
Got it. Thanks.
It's not oxygen,
No, it's room air. It's compressed room air.
Jamie, any more?
Nope.
Okay. Miss, would you like to step up here, please? State your name and address.
Hi, Mary Carvajal, 358 Leeds. I got a question on the testing at Arrowhead Beach Club. Do all the beaches get tested same time, same day by the county?
The
Is
county-
Camelot County getting tested?
The county only tests the county beaches, so they test at Camelot and Arrowhead only.
Okay,
The-
so and they announced Arrowhead's closed, so I can assume Camelot was tested
Yes.
and it's safe.
Yeah, but this wasn't a test, this was a notification. They do testing for E. coli and they look for
Right.
blue-green algae or
So
that
how
sort.
often does that take place? And
Every-
once it's
every 2
closed,
weeks.
how often do they retest to open it?
I hadn't heard back from, I don't even know if they took a sample on this. I put a request in to find out if they took a sample, which they should have. Because it was not it wasn't our normal test. The normal test is for E. coli. But they were there for some kind of training, I believe. Jamie, you're a little more familiar with that, or no?
Yes,
bit.
yeah. And they did visual inspection and had seen a bloom.
On Camelot?
No,
Arrow-
on
I
Arrowhead.
guess here's my question. As these beaches closes and opens, and all three of them are different, when you're not using that beach, what kind of assumptions should we use to be safe?
If it's
Do I
posted,
assume Camelot's getting tested?
yes.
And then how do I know how often?
It's every 2 weeks at this
Every
point.
2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks. However, Tri-Lakes had their meeting on Wednesday, yesterday.
Okay.
And Tri-Lakes is gonna they're gonna
And then
be
just real quick,
conducting more meetings, or
If
excuse me,
they're
more
testing
testing.
at the county beach and say it's closed, do we make an assumption that the beach down at the other end should be closed too?
No.
They're just not testing there?
They're not testing there, but we will be testing on Tri-Lakes.
Okay.
And we're gonna do it every week.
So Tri-Lakes Management takes over the other areas?
We're gonna start that, yes.
Gotcha.
Right now, 14 Mile is testing
Okay, and they post that
Camelot
on the
Lodge.
website, Tri-Lakes does?
There will be, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I think when Tri-Lake's website is redesigned, you'll have the same opportunity to do a news and notice alert, so
Yep.
people can sign up for it.
Lori?
I actually called, Anna James because I was, a question came to me about Lake Arrowhead.
Pull your mic down.
A question came to me about Lake Arrowhead because I happened to go check the boating ordinance signs. And there were people actually in the lake because it didn't look green that evening after Anna had actually gone there. So I called and asked her how Arrowhead worked, because I was asked the question. The answer came back to me that the algae inspection is a visual one based on the weather conditions. And she said that she inspects the public beach at Arrowhead. The closing came, then she calls and notifies the association at Arrowhead, and it's up to them to determine, correct, Jamie, if they want to close our association. I'm only speaking for Arrowhead. Thank you.
Okay. Discuss and possible action on the following items. Number 8, discussion and action, approval of the June 16th, 2022 meeting minutes. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll approve, you said number 8,
Number 8, yes.
okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I'll approve the June 16 meeting minutes
Is that a motion?
as presented. Yes.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion's carried. Number 9, discussion and possible action, continue review of coordinated efforts towards installation and establishment of a municipal sanitary sewer system in Rome Town Center.
Great. So there was a memo in your packet from General Engineering. Lucas is joining us again this evening. I just have asked if he would walk us through this memo and what it means and the options. Then I think we can have a conversation about what potential next steps we would like to see. So Lucas, you want to join us up at the mic?
Yes.
Welcome everyone, I'm Lucas, I'm with General Engineering and I'm here to talk about wastewater, fun stuff. So I hope you had the chance to read my memo. The first part of the memo provides a clarification based on my conversation with the Department of Natural Resources. And yes, the town, it's possible for the town to move towards the route of private on-site wastewater treatment system, where the system will have a capacity up to 15,000 gallons a day, 22,000 gallons peak flow. That type of system has very little oversight, similar to a septic system, residential septic system, with difference, where the difference is that the first few tanks, they contain a aeration system to provide better quality treatment of the wastewater. Then there will be a distribution system, in-ground or subsurface distribution system. So the town is eligible for that. The department will require fairly extensive planning documentation to provide explanation and to prove that that system will meet the requirements. Based on my conversation with the department, I described the intention and the type of the system, and the department or the reviewer concluded that yes, this system will fall under general permit with no testing and same requirements as the residential system. So that's a good news. That saves a lot of effort and maintenance cost. In addition, based on my description of the system, the department said there will not be a time limit of the operation. The town could maintain that system as long as the EPA allows for general permitting of those type of systems. So that is a good news. That will save a lot of maintenance effort and operational costs if this project moves forward.
And then it wouldn't be the 10 or 15 years.
No.
It potentially could be more than that.
Correct, as needed. As long as the EPA allows for those type of permitting be in place.
So if the EPA would change, the rules before the 10 or 15 years, would that?
There is always a period. Normally, it's in most cases it's a life cycle of the treatment, 20 years. So the town will get probably around 15 to 20 years to adjust the operating conditions. At the same time, the way I'm envisioning that system, it will be a modular type of system where you can add another sections to that system in order to achieve greater compliance if needed.
Before, weren't we talking about DNR, not the EPA? Am I missing something here?
So DNR reports to EPA. EPA, federal government, and the EPA, so DNR collects all the information, they send everything to EPA, EPA approves that, sends back to DNR. So the permitting happens with the DNR, but every single treatment plant has all the paperwork filed with EPA.
But weren't we discussing that the DNR could change their mind after 10 years? And then we're sitting there now, what?
Based on my conversation, they will not impose that limit anymore. Based on my conversation and explanation of what type of system that we are looking to install and how the system will operate, the DNR informed me that there won't be any time limit.
On the numbers here, you've got 94,000 quarterly for a Quick Trip. Is that with or without a car wash?
94,000
in a quarter.
That is a current usage, quarterly current usage based on the metered water, without car wash.
Lucas checked with water utility.
I reach out, so for the data that we have, I use the data from the water system as far as their usage. The apartments, I use the data from the water system, apartments, town hall, town police, EMS, and a Quick Trip. The Rome, Country Meats, and Brewery, I made assumptions as far as their usage based on the documentation that they submit to the county for their plumbing installation.
Would it make sense to get a hold of Quick Trip and see what their interest is in a car wash and then see what the usage would be? That would be could be a selling point.
We have reached out to get that data from them.
Okay.
To my knowledge, they did purchase part of the,
They purchased that additional 1.995 acres, yeah. We did close on that sale last week.
any other questions as far as the first part of the memo and DNR? So within the second part of the memo, the second part is divided into a number of different sections, and I tried to describe the assumptions that I made, coming up with the numbers and options, how the potential user fee can be structured. So I don't know, I don't think I'm going to go into the detail as far as what the flows are from the existing users, but I would like to jump into the actual tables and the fee structure. So so the whole project is divided into a number of different phases. Phase 1 will include construction of the collection system, starting here at the town property and running along the roads all the way to the future town, or the town park that is under construction right now. An estimated cost of that sewer line will be roughly $250,000. Estimated cost of the treatment system will be roughly $360,000. The DNR offers low interest loans, and as of right now, the town will be eligible for 20-year loan at 2%. In order to fulfill the debt requirements on that type of loan for a collection system and the treatment system, we are talking about roughly $44,000 per year in debt service. In order to make the utility collection system feasible, those type of fees will need to be collected through the users. The more users you can connect up front, the less of a burden will be on the individual users. So table 1 in my memo describes the assumption made that the user fee would be so the user fee will have 2 parts. One will be a service fee, another one will be a volume fee based on the usage from the meter. So the service fee, I assumed, is exactly the same as water system in the amount of $78, and the volume fee would be $12 for 1,000 gallons. With that, based on that assumption, I made and it flows from known users and future users. I came to assumption that if in phase 1, without connecting Quick Trip, the estimated revenue will be $3,200 per quarter. So roughly for a whole year, it will be $12,000, which is not near close to cover the debt issue, the debt service of $43,000. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Connecting Quick Trip, it will add another $1,300, which will increase the revenue to roughly $18,000, which is still not enough to cover the cost of debt. The table 2 makes an assumption. So in my research, as far as the fee structures, how other municipalities are doing everything, number of small communities, they are structuring fee where they are creating a public user fee. And that fee, in most cases, is 4 or 5 times higher than the actual user. So the municipality pays majority of the cost to alleviate the burden cost on the actual users and the residents within the sewer collection system. So table number 2 shows the example where I assume that the fee for the town properties is 4 times higher. where the rest of the fee is structured same as table 1. Does that make sense? So with connecting Quick Trip and everything, you are looking at roughly $20,000 in revenue per year. Half of the, well, less than half of the required debt service that needs to be that needs to be collected to service the debt. Questions? Table 3 shows increase in cost, how much more the fee has to be increased in order to generate enough revenue to come close to that debt coverage. So with connecting Quick Trip, you're looking at roughly $14,000 per quarter, which will put you right into that realm of servicing the debt.
How do those charges align with other towns' similar systems?
So I surveyed 25 different municipalities with similar size. And I include, for example, I could have included 10 of them, but the average charge oscillates within that $350, $400 per quarter for service connection for the system of that size. So if you look at the for residential users. So if you look at table 3 under apartments, 1 unit cost, the cost per quarter is $375, and that is in line what I see across the board. For that type of system, for small municipality like that with 100 users, you see a fee. The highest fee I saw, it was, I believe, in Winnebago County, one of the sanitary districts surrounding city of Oshkosh. They had a fee of $510 per quarter.
And that's a residential service?
That's a residential service. It was a flat fee of $510 per quarter.
In Oshkosh?
In the town of Oshkosh, there are 6 or 7 districts.
Does that include water or just
sewer?
Just sewer.
$2,000 a year, you're saying?
Yes. So, and like I said, a lot of municipalities are taking that cost on themselves by creating that public user charge fee.
Well, we're taking it on the taxpayers, not on the municipality.
Chairman, can we not have the crosstalk, please?
Yeah. Yeah, sir, well, we'll hold questions soon when we're done with this.
We're also not talking, none of this is related to residential. All of this project is related to Rome Town Center and commercial business. We've never explored this being residential in nature.
Aside from the apartment complexes that are within the boundaries.
Rome Town Center.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead, Louis. Continue.
Keep in mind, this is just a projection. And the table 4, it is a good example of the more user connects up front, the lesser the fee is. So in the table 1 to 3, I assume only 12 apartments connects to the system. In the table 4, I assumed 36 units is connected to the system, and that will allow to drop that fee to $12 and maintain that public user fee 4 times higher. So that the whole point in this in this memo is that there needs so in order to do something, obviously the town if the town is willing to spend money, something can be done. The more users can be attracted and connected right up front, the lesser the cost is going to be.
The piece that Lucas and I have continuously discussed is the chicken and the egg piece, though, because we have a mass of users, but without having the plan totally done, the users install their systems, right? And then we lose that base. So even in this scenario, likely the second set of 12 apartments in the meat market are off the table because they've started and are at that point of construction. So even with the proceeding with design plans and having those in place, then you may have to wait until you would have another larger user that would come on, and still it would be a determination if that user would be enough to dramatically decrease cost.
In addition, when I surveyed those municipalities, number of municipalities struggle with same thing. How they're going to pay for sewer and water, and a lot of them they borrow money from the general budget at fixed fee with the delayed time option, where that loan is paid off.
With that said, please remember your Rome Town Center loan, the principal on that annually is $185,000 and the interest is 20-some thousand. So I mean, your Rome Town Center investment on levy now is over $200,000 since 2005.
I think too, originally, our intent was to keep the cost solely on the town center. However, looking at this, we're looking at the Town Park Pavilion, which is a taxpayer expense, the Town Hall, and the Police Department, which is again is taxpayer expense. So it looks like the burden of the payments are still gonna fall back on the taxpayers. That's what I'm reading here, correct?
Correct, yes.
With that said, all of those facilities would still use Rome water, and all of those facilities would still need to put in that piece that would process waste, right? Like
Well, we have it right now. I mean,
we have a conventional septic. But we've had the conversation that also vastly limits our availability of land here on the 6-acre site, and it would limit development within Rome Town Center because you'll have to maintain those sections for drainage beds.
Unfortunately, there is no good solution.
folks?
Probably a number of years too late on exploring this, but.
Well, if the system would have been built 80 years, in 80s, it will be already paid for. Just like number of other municipalities. How small communities they can afford that is because the systems were put in place in 70s, 80s, 90s, and with a loan term of 20 years, they already paid for. And the life expectancy of the pipe in the ground per DNR standards is 35 years. I see PVC pipes in the ground 60, 70 years operating without any issues. So that's how other small municipalities they can survive that because the system is already paid for.
Put in when the park was put in.
Correct.
Yeah, if it would have been
Correct.
added to the original loan, it would not be substantially more at this
Right.
point.
And
it was
it will be almost paid off.
As part of the original plan.
So it's certainly not an easy choice because it does limit items, right? You cannot have a car wash because you don't have the means in which to process the amount of water flow that comes through. I know that's a question that has come up periodically, more than periodically through the years. It may also limit for the potential of hotel development because they would have to be comfortable with conventional septic development. And they'd have to put one in fairly large, right? Sand Valley has the second largest Pouts system in the state. So that's a big investment.
Did you find the first? Still looking.
So Lucas, these tables that you have represent about a quarter or 20% of the total capacity, 15,000 gallons a day, right?
Yes. So the assumption is made that the system will be with the average flow of 10,000 and it will be able to handle peak of 15.
Okay, so it's less than that.
Correct.
It's like 25%.
So I can say there are two components to the treatment system. One is the tanks, and the second one is the beds, the distribution system. So the tanks will be sized for full maximum capacity because there will be no point of replacing them after a couple of years. The beds will be done in a section, so that if needed, they could be added on in order to add more capacity. As of right now, I went with that route because obviously if you assume 15,000 gallons a day flows, right now, based on the usage and everything, you're looking roughly at 7. So, and I don't know if the users will come in tomorrow or 5-10 years from now. I don't want to put additional burden and increase the debt service cost because it does not make any sense. The disturbance or the cost to install additional beds, it will be, there will be a cost to mobilize contractor to install the beds, but there's no other cost associated with that. You just simply come in to put more beds in. There won't be any need for additional permitting with the state because the submittal will include that contingency that the system, the treatment system, is designed for 15,000 gallons a day. The beds are designed for 10,000. We could move that route to get that system to 15,000 gallons a day, but that will increase the cost of construction. And right now, we're already operating under tight budget. But all those assumptions, they may change once we know if there's more users coming in.
We have made a motion or discussion, so we are open if anybody in the audience wants to come up and
I know Tom does.
speak.
Tom Gabriel, 1032 East Queensway. First, Carl, thank you for your loud voice. We can all hear you in the back. Sanitary sewer in the Rome Town Center. Might have to agree with Dan. Might have been 10 years too late. The problem is the users. I have 2 brand new septics in the town center. All of my waste goes towards Highway 13. For me to connect into the new sanitary sewer is next to impossible because all of my piping flows to the east. I'd have to literally cut out a brand new parking lot, dig down, and do all that. So if you're talking about users, there's a lot of businesses in there now that you're not gonna get. And the 10 years too old is probably a good explanation for this. Am I opposed to sanitary sewer? No. Am I opposed to getting a hotel between me and Caldwell and Banker on 13? By no means. I'm not against it. But in exchange for the sanitary sewer, we have to think about the ma and pas that are currently operating in the business park and how is that going to affect them and what costs will be associated with them. And if we go back to his calculation on water usage, my business, for instance, I water my grass constantly with city water. So if they were to calculate my sanitary sewer fees based on my water usage fees, I'd be paying for my last bill. I used 23,000 gallons of water because we fill the ponds and I'm too high for a sand point on my property. I know I could put in a well. I could also put in a sand point for watering, but the water level on that end of the business park is past 25 feet, so we can't do a sand point. So I do all my watering, all my filling of my ponds with city water. So if you calculate our sewer fees on the city water usage, I would be hurt tremendously on that concept. Maybe we would have to install separate meters for water service outside or something like that. And that's about it.
I came from a town prior to moving here, and they charged us a separate rate in the summer. They took our average winter usage, and that's what they charge us in the summer, allowing for the water in the thing. That wouldn't work too well for you being closed, but I mean, there are other
usage in the
options.
winter, I'd be happy to pay that.
Sure.
That would work out awesome for me, Carl. You're wrong on that. But if you look at the businesses that are currently in the Alpine, whatever, Rome Town Center, whatever we call it now, all of my septic goes to Highway 13. Caldwell Bankers goes to Highway 13. Keystone Savings Bank goes to Highway 13. Because none of us wanted to put the smell in your front yard where your customers are. So we all planned it to go to the backyards. Now, if the town comes in and says, okay, we're gonna put sanitary sewer down Matterhorn Trail, you all have to connect into it. All of our plumbing goes the wrong direction. So it would be nice to get the car wash, be nice to get the hotel, but then again, do we have to think back a decade or whatever this place was developed? That board dropped the bombshell. They should have just spent the money then for the pipes, and we'd all be okay right now. We wouldn't be having this conversation. But to come back and assess the people that just spent money for brand new septic systems to tee into a new sanitary sewer, I don't think is fair to the ma and pa businesses in the town.
We always look at options too. Why wouldn't you take a line and run a line down along 13 and connect all those businesses there and wrap it around. The lines aren't the biggest cost, I don't think. I think the biggest cost is the pout system itself and whatnot, but running a line is always an option, so. I
Right,
mean,
but if you
there's-
run
there's
down
ways to look at
13,
it.
you also got gas and electrical all out there, and all of us teed into 13. All of our gas service comes from 13.
Oh, they deal
All
with
of
it,
my
yeah.
electrical service comes from 13. The only thing that comes from Matterhorn Trail is Solaris and Rome Water. We Energies and Adams Electric comes from 13 for the businesses on Matterhorn Trail.
Utilities deal with it all the time, so, I mean, there's always options, but, thank you.
I would like to comment on that. So the proposed system will be a voluntary system. The assumption is made there won't be any special assessment. Yes, the assumption is that the town properties could pay majority of the cost, but it will not be mandatory to the users within the town center. As far as the utilities, sewer generally is installed 7-8 feet deep. There's no issue with other utilities. Normally they are right next to each other within a couple feet.
Again, we had a series of businesses that had an interest and a need, so it would not be put on other businesses that already had existing systems. However, within our developers agreement, that several businesses have signed with the past recent history of sales, it does say in there that they would connect sanitary sewer within 10 years of the line going past the business as part of the sale. So there are our most recent developers agreement within the last 2 to 3 years all do have that clause.
Is there anybody else in the audience, sir?
I just got one quick question.
We'll need you on want to make sure everybody hears you, so please come to the microphone.
Tom Kemper again. I was just wondering if there's a total ballpark figure price for this whole thing? How many,
Yes.
the whole thing? Turnkey operation?
Please define what means the whole thing.
Well, what your plan is to
So
hook this up?
the phase one will cost roughly under $600,000,
Okay.
and it will connect.
With the sewer, you can put a sewer system in for $600,000?
Correct. And it will serve, based on the assumption, it will serve Rome Country Meat, Town Park Pavilion apartments, 12 units, town hall, police,
But you-
town
okay.
police, and a quick trip.
But eventually down the line, I think you're planning on hooking up all the houses?
No.
No? Oh, thank you, I'm done.
Yes, sir, please come to the microphone.
Are you guys planning on crossing Highway 13?
Please, step up. Name and address, please.
Jeremy, 1141 Antler Road. Are you guys planning on crossing 13 or staying on this side?
Staying on this side.
That was brought up at another meeting about crossing over, picking up additional businesses, but again, they've got systems that are in place already, so it may not be feasible to cross at this point.
Okay, so it's feasible to go this way, but not that way.
Well, it's all economy of scale, right?
Okay.
I think we
That
first
was the
have to have the conversation, are we willing at some point to subsidize and at how much? And then it's the economy of scale of how much you increase from there.
So the biggest aspect of this whole thing is we made certain assumptions based on the voices of the users within the town center who wants to join that without making that mandatory. So as of right now, the assumption is those are the people who wants to join. This is the best route for it. If there's a number of users that are looking to connect along State Highway 13, we are free to explore that option. But as of right now, I try to create a simple system that it will be feasible to construct without costing people thousands of dollars per quarter.
So I have two questions for you, Lucas. So again, these numbers are based on everybody there right now, if they,
Correct.
so again, you said if everybody hooks up,
Correct.
and they have the option of not hooking up.
Correct. Yes.
And then my second question is smells,
There are ways to eliminate smell.
but it's not 100%.
I don't have that, but at the last meeting I had a printout of the system that we installed at the country club.
Which country club?
Porridge Country Club in Columbia County.
Oh, Okay,
And the whole treatment system is installed right next to main entrance
okay,
and with the parking lot, and simply by venting the sewage gases through mulch and wetting that mulch, it will eliminate all the smells.
100%.
100%, yes.
And that's a responsibility that our Public Works Department would have to take on
Correct.
then?
So in that particular case, they come in once a year and they put their system is a little bit smaller because it's only 5,000 gallons a day flow system. They put 11 bags of mulch per year.
11 bags of mulch.
Correct.
And they have to keep it constantly watered then to
No,
keep the
they don't
smell
have to.
down?
They don't have to
Okay.
wet it because the mulch holds water,
Holds moisture.
holds moisture.
Okay.
I can provide more information, and I can provide contact information to the people who are using Country Club, and nobody even when you tell them that this is a septic system, they don't believe it because there's no smell. There's no smell from the distribution system because everything is subsurface.
Okay, and then I have actually another question then. If these businesses would agree to sign on, what costs are they gonna incur to shut down their other systems? Do we know that when they hook up?
Well, it depends. A lot of times, depending on when they took out the permit from the county, and for specific systems, the county may have different requirements as far as abandoning of the existing system. Normally, with the residential setup, a lot of times you don't even remove old beds. You leave everything in place. You just reconnect pipes. When you're replacing septic system, I know the cases where they just abandon the beds in place. So that could be a same aspect here, where you just simply abandon those beds. You could remove them, but you don't have to.
One other question, would any of these systems, the system you're referring to, would that cover the entire business park, or is it only the businesses that are there now?
So right now, I believe, let me look at this real quick. So so right now, the average flow, based on assuming all those businesses will connect, the average flow, estimated average flow is around 3,370 gallons.
That's page 2.
That's page 2. That's a daily flow. The proposed system will be installed for 10,000 gallons, up to 15,000 gallons a day with the peak of 22. So looking at this, you could probably, I would say, quadruple the number of users you could connect to that system.
Okay, but the infrastructure isn't in there for the rest of the business park, and would it all be gravity, or would you need stations?
So the layout that you have in your packet, everything is gravity. That's the assumption, that everything will be gravity. Correct. So the system is not there. In order to create a collection system for the whole park, you're probably looking at the cost of, just in the collection system, roughly $1 million.
Anybody got $1 million laying around they don't need?
You know, I think we've put a lot of effort into doing our due diligence and looking all sorts of alternatives here, starting with just the holding tank to pump, including going all the way up to lift stations to Port Edwards in conjunction with what Saratoga was looking at. My personal opinion is this just isn't economically feasible given where we're at this point.
Would you just say that again, please, Dan?
I don't think it's economically
Not
feasible where we're at this point. Looking at what you'd have to force onto the users, because I think we all agreed that cost would be contained to the user base that it serves.
Well, I think you'd also have to assume that if there was a user in the park, they would wait the full 10 years before they connected.
Yeah.
So that would make your costs to taxpayers go up 4 or 5 times what we're showing today.
Probably you are correct with your assumption. The town portion or the town contribution or financing of that system would be for next 10 years. And after that, you know, and that goes back to what I said about a lot of municipalities, they do borrow money from general budget to to the utility in order to fulfill that obligation, because they know that the 10-year, it's a statute requirement for the users to connect. So a lot of municipalities, they do borrow money for that time period.
It
So-
would ultimately be us and our, yeah.
Right, so what's our trade-offs here? If we shelve this, no car wash,
You can't have
hotel
a
is
car
still,
wash. Even with the system, you can't have a car wash.
You can.
You can.
You can,
Yes, you can, yes.
Okay.
Because this will be a municipal system. With the, so the difference is, as soon as you have any type of industry, industrial wastewater or solely commercial wastewater, just like Rome Country Meat, they had to put two systems in place. One for their bathroom waste, normal septic residential system. For their process wastewater, they could not do any type of system. They had to install holding tank that needs to be pumped.
So they would continue to have that then.
Or they could choose to connect, because if their production increases, there may be a significant burden for them to maintain and pump that holding tank and send that water to Wisconsin Rapids or what other municipality, because they will have to hire a contract hauler to pump that tank.
But could they then, if they came onto our system, dump that into our system?
Absolutely.
This would be a commercial system.
It will be a municipal system. Municipal system incorporates industrial production wastewater. So yes, they could connect just onto that system.
It actually benefits them because it dilutes that waste. It's not as high as strength.
Correct.
But at this point, they will have to install and have the permission to install that holding tank. and we'll haul it.
They got a variance from the county because the Adams County does not allow holding tanks, but because of the production waste, they need to have that. It's mandate from the state.
Likely the brewery will have to follow a similar process.
Correct. So the meat market they will have two systems. Brewery will have two systems. And their charges for the holding tank waste will be very significant charges, because meat processed wastewater from the meat processing facility is very, very potent, very high in nutrients. So they will get hammered at the treatment plant. For example, Wisconsin Rapids, when they accept wastewater from the holding tank, residential wastewater, their fee is $14 per thousand. There's a drop-off fee, but besides that, the fee from commercial users, such as meat market or brewery, goes up to, there's a couple different tiers. The lowest one is $78 for 1,000, and goes up to $280 for 1,000. So those users, they may find that if their operation is significant enough and they produce a lot of processed wastewater, they may find themselves in desperate need of some other solution, because the contract haulers, their tankers are only, I think I talked to two. One has $3,000 tanker, another one has $5,000 tanker. The tank that they are installing at the meat market, I believe, is 5,000 gallon tank, and the county made the assumption that tank will be emptied once a week. So to dispose that wastewater at the cost of $78 for 1,000 gallons, so you got 5 times 78, that's roughly $400, plus another fee from the drop-off fee, plus a fee from the contract hauler. When I run the numbers and talk to the haulers, they told me meat market will be looking, if they want to do every week, they will be looking at roughly a fee of $800 or $900 to just dispose the holding waste tank. Wastewater is expensive.
Yeah.
but that is also only one particular business and one particular use case that doesn't necessarily apply to everybody else.
Right.
Correct. Yes, but that's the reality.
Lucas, on your drawing here, you showed the phase 1 and phase 2 of the collection system, but you didn't show where the field might be located, the septic field.
It's that peach colored box. I don't know that that's where it would be. That was where it's land that the town still owns that may be a potential Another option might be immediately behind the public parking lot that we've slated within Rome Town Center, but that was where, for estimation purposes, it was slotted there on the corner of
Oh,
Geneva.
okay. So I would think it'd be somewhat to the west.
You-
Not on,
You
Buildable
could,
lots.
you could put that wherever you want,
yeah, just gotta get to it.
correct?
Solely curiosity question. I know, Tom, I'm involving you in this question. If we did put it there, could you put an expansion of a mini golf on top of it?
No.
Okay, just wondering.
Okay. Do we want to entertain any kind of motion here?
And if not a motion, just what
Table?
would we like to see potentially happen next? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your work, Lucas.
Thank
and
you,
the
Lucas. Yeah.
information.
Thoughts? Comments?
An audience question?
Yes.
Cheryl Dodd, 98 Football Court. Has there been a discussion with all the current business owners in the park as to whether or not they would hook up to this system?
So that's a mix. So again, the business owners that have purchased within the last several years, it's part of their developer's agreement. So it was discussed as part of the construction. The businesses that were prior to that, no, because it would be voluntary in nature, and so it wasn't part of the overall cost estimate. And the ones that are included in here, yes, we've had a conversation to say that there would be interest. Again, this leads back to construction has started on some of them, and they've had to move forward with that, so it might not necessarily be these ones that are located here.
Thanks.
So, table it, I think, at this point?
Yeah, I think so.
When we say table, do we mean table indefinitely? Do we-
Indefinitely, in my opinion, indefinitely. I think we're looking at in my opinion, we're looking at a lack of businesses in there at this point to make it feasible without burdening the taxpayers.
So if we table indefinitely, I think I would ask that we just have Lucas briefly summarize this conversation and that decision within this memo. Just like we did with the Rome Water Utility, then we have that as a record, so in case there would be developers that would come and express why, we could share with them this process and what the decision was.
You get enough?
It's possible that we could put in a reduced system for, say, 8 or 10 years, right? So that we could run a sewer past a business and they could have the option to connect it and then we would haul it away from a holding tank. They probably, my assumption is that none of these people are going to want to connect right now. They're going to want to wait.
It is possible. It's possible to build smaller system. It is possible to relocate the current systems that are on this property and start building that infrastructure. The main question is how much burden the town board is willing to put onto the taxpayers. Because I don't know the conditions of the existing systems within this property, but you could start building a network or something and assume
So
that.
it'd be less than 600,000 if you did that.
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And the other option would be to move forward with the project and put pipe in the ground or just to serve this property. Pick the best or the closest location and start investing money. If somebody comes in and is within the area, you have a municipal system you can get them connected to. You can start drawing the fee. But like I said, everything comes down to a cost, and it is expensive. And it's not just town of Rome issue. I work with another municipality in Dodge County, community of 810 people. Their options for new wastewater treatment plants range from $11 million to $24 million for a community of 800 people. Because the reason why so much is because they have a lot of different industries, and they want to encompass those industries, and that requires a very specialized treatment. So like I said, wastewater is very expensive.
Just something, and it's probably more for future, but is it feasible that, well, over the years, we've pretty much given land away in the business park, very inexpensive. But the last year or so, the prices have gone up dramatically, so would it be feasible to take a look at part of that sale price and put it into impact fee? And start collecting impact fees for future use?
Certainly, but I think you would just dramatically increases is our land, we want it to be developed, so we're selling it at a price in which we are encouraging development.
Yes.
I think given what things are selling for in the community, you could dramatically increase and still encourage development, yes. You would still be less than other land anyplace.
Something to look at, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, another way of, it will be a fairly complicated way of paying for it, would be to create another TIF district. I know the town is not eligible because there's one already existing, but you could petition legislator to allow to create another TIF district and start collecting the tax base.
Yeah, but, yeah.
There's a number of different ways how this can be done, but it's going to come at the cost to the town residents.
My question is there any federal or state grants that are available to the town of Rome to help them build this infrastructure? And will ultimately the people vote like for a referendum to approve the municipality of wastewater treatment center here? Or does you guys get to decide that? How does that work?
I'll let Nick explain
I'm new
that
here,
one.
so I don't
Yeah,
know
that's all right.
how you go about
Nick?
doing
Sure.
that.
Well, certainly an advisory referendum is always an option, right? If you're asking if the town would be required to get elector approval for the system, which it sounds like you maybe were asking, it depends. It depends on the type of borrowing that the town is doing. There is a type of borrowing that would require elector approval to proceed with that borrowing. And so the answer is maybe. But the actual decision to move forward with this wouldn't need elector approval unless the borrowing component of it was in a way that requires elector approval.
And there's another option we haven't discussed, and that's the possibility that the DNR or the EPA comes in and demands we put a system in. That's always a possibility.
Which brings it back to get full circle here, have we explored grants and,
Yeah.
things on the federal level, state level, county level? There's funds out there to be had for this type of work. And has the town of Rome or whoever's heading up the committee on this expanded their, resources to, if we can get any funding money towards the project?
Lucas, do you want to address that? Because yes.
Yes, we did explore that option. Unfortunately, the town of Rome medium household income is too high to be eligible for any type of grants. The town of Rome is eligible for low interest loans. Right now is at 2% because of the rate increase. 6 months ago, that loan was at 1.3%, 20-year loan at 1.3%, which is very, very low interest loan. Right now it's at 2%. So that's the only one. There's a possibility of some type of mandate from the state for this area. And I know Wood County is in similar position. Back in 2010, there was a mandate that they had to come up with a sewerization plan. And if you go online, you can Google Wood County sewerization plan and what includes. So I know Wood County and the towns surrounding city of Wisconsin Rapids, they will do something. And good thing, bad thing, based on my conversation with the department, our conversations with the state revisit their perspective, what needs to be done for their sewerization plan, because their sewerization plan of Wood County expires in 2030, and to the department knowledge, there was nothing done, nothing fulfilled as far as the requirements. So there may be some type of recommendation from the state, because the state can't enforce that, but recommendation from the state to fulfill the requirements of the Wood County sewerization plan.
What was the reason for that?
because the plan was implemented in 2012.
No, what was the reason for them?
Because of the quality of water, of groundwater. So because of the quality issues of the groundwater, the state mandate that they will put a plan together in place to look for options to address, to improve the wastewater and the conditions of the drinking water within the area of vicinity of the city of Wisconsin Rapids. And part of that, because I know city of Wisconsin Rapids, there's a little more information about that, but I know for quite some time, city of Wisconsin Rapids did not allow village of Rudolph to connect based on the sewerization plan. They had to allow them. So there is a lot more information, and there may be something. I don't know if it will be for town of Rome, but definitely for a Wood County portion, something may be done at the state level.
I have a question on that. So you may not know the answer, and I don't know if we really want to go totally down this road, but when you say that, though, part of the history when they did that was they amended their sewer service area, right? And their SSA goes down not to Saratoga, it's still north of Saratoga. If they had to redo that plan, are they even able to amend their sewer service area to even get close to this? I'm not so sure they are.
We had those conversations, and that, if I remember correctly, so there's 2 tiers of amending that plan, and that we had a conversation with Wood County, and that in order to include town of Rome in that plan, that would require a tier 2 amendment, if I remember correctly. But yes, could be done. It's possible, because that was the first step required for the town of Rome to seek that option of regionalization with city of Wisconsin Rapids.
Follow-up question then. To that point, which I think makes some assumptions, one thing would be for sure, you'd have to get Saratoga on board to do it, right?
Correct, yes. Yes, but in that, if I recall correctly, in that plan, Saratoga signed that plan, and that plan obligated them to do something. The biggest challenge with that plan was there was no financial aspect that sometimes comes with the plan. So they put a document in place, but they didn't put any money behind it.
Right, basically like a resolution, right?
Correct,
They
yes.
actually obligate themselves to it. What you're suggesting, a tier 2 plan, they would have to put rubber to the road and actually commit some stuff. It would take a much larger, I think, commitment, and stand by their municipality to stand behind that. And there may be grants available, sure, but I just want to be clear that as we start talking about possibly amending that, that's a fairly complex procedure, and one that could be possible, but is certainly not guaranteed.
All right.
Thank you.
So
Thank you,
I'm
Nick.
thinking at this point, we just leave this as an item, open item, future conversation.
But I
Table indefinitely was the
Yeah.
term that was used, but we will update the memo that was tonight with this discussion and with that determination, so we would have it on record.
All right. Laura, you?
Do you want us to make a motion, Nick, that we would table it with Lucas to actually do a summarization for us?
It would probably be a good idea, since
Okay.
we are asking Lucas to update that memorandum, just so you'd have something in the minutes to support that for the file.
Is there any specific wording, or just a table for a few,
Well, table indefinitely is what I'm.
table indefinitely with a summarization from Lucas as what has been discussed to date? Okay. I'll move that we table indefinitely with a summarization from Lucas of General Engineering on this subject matter, please.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried.
Thank you, Lucas, for all of the information and
Thank
hard
you.
work.
Number 10, discussion and possible action, request by Wisconsin Dunes LLC for the exclusion of Unit 2, Mammoth Condominium, presently a part of parcel number 030-00319-0015, from the mortgage granted to the Town of Rome pursuant to the development agreement among the Town of Rome, Wisconsin Dunes LLC, and Sand Valley LLC, dated as of August 10th, 2016.
There was a memo in your packet just explaining this is the second time you're seeing the agenda item. and what it means within the Sand Valley Development Agreement. We did have a conversation with Associate Appraisal at the Board of Review meeting that was held on June 8th regarding the values. This request is for the releasal of Unit 2 within the condo development, the condo development being the clubhouse. This releasal would only be for Unit 2, and it does state that they have, at this moment, they do not intend to seek a releasal of Unit 1, which would be that main floor. But that conversation with Associate Appraisal did share that the values of those 3 units won't change until next year. They would just be dividing the current value of that building, which is slightly over $6 million, in between those 3 units. I did put some additional information in here just as a recap that the town has the first priority mortgage on the maintenance shop, the clubhouse, and courses and improvements, which would include turn stands or bathrooms that are added to the course, because that's all part of that same parcel, and Craig's porch. So the approximate value of that being over $25 million. And what are the outstanding balances on the 2 loans, and the outstanding repayment as part of the developer's agreement in the TID.
But they didn't give us a value on the Unit 2, did they? I don't see it in here.
They could not give you a value on Unit 2 until next year. All they would be doing is dividing the $6 million value of that building. Your Unit 1 will still be the highest value of the 3 units because it's ground floor and it's the largest.
It's the majority of the $6 million two and the 270 for the land.
Yeah.
Majority of that.
And they haven't ruled out asking the same thing for Unit 3, right?
They have not expressed Unit 3, they've only said that they don't intend to seek
For Unit 1.
So
So likely they will someday.
there's always that potential, yes.
I'll move that we approve the request by Wisconsin Dunes LLC for the exclusion of Unit 2 Mammoth condominium presently a part of parcel number 0300031900015 from the mortgage granted to the Town of Rome pursuant to the development agreement among the Town of Rome, Wisconsin Dunes LLC, and Sand Valley LLC dated as of August 10th, 2016.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Number 11, discussion and possible action, continue conversation on safety concerns, lake bed soil disruption, and shoreline erosion caused by wake manipulating devices on Lake Camelot, Sherwood, and Arrowhead. And I'd like to preface this that I'd really like to keep the discussion to basically 2 areas. 1, who is eligible to participate in conversation, and 2, what the board has to do to get the information out to the folks so that we get as much out there as possible. I don't want to shoot from the hip. I don't expect this to pass this year. It's going to be next year. We're going to have several more meetings on this. We want to make sure everybody's included. Want to hear opinions. We want to hear thoughts, but we also have to understand, this is a serious concern, and it is going to move forward. So, with that in mind,
Did include a PowerPoint just to start to organize some thoughts within the packet. Again, sharing why are we discussing this with safety concerns, lake bed soil disruption, shoreline erosion. I did put on there that we can add additional concerns if they present or as they present through this process. And then just trying to frame up the conversation, if we regulate it, how would we determine regulations with a series of, are we talking additional enforcement? Are we talking all devices? Are we talking just certain heights of wakes or speeds or sizes of boats, or just specific areas? And then just put together sort of a sample public outreach that would include a series of items. The town attorney did put together just a sample advisory referendum question. Again, that's a non-binding referendum question. And that's only a sample just to have a starting point for this conversation.
I would just like to add, there's a document in here that has my name on it. I just forwarded this to Jamie because I have never seen one of these boats. I didn't know anything about this till our last board meeting when it was brought up. I've sat on all 3 of our lakes, and to date, I have not even seen one of these in action yet. So just so you know, my name is on this piece of paper only because this has a picture on it. and I forwarded it because I didn't realize what these boats did until I read this article, and that's why it's in here with my name on it. There you go.
And I understand you've got
I
a-
don't know who else provided all this other information. Jamie had shared with me that the previous supporting information, which I appreciate because I've been trying to learn as much as I can. Thank you.
You've got a litany of folks there to want to speak?
I think you could just ask them to raise their hands and then
Okay.
we will make sure that we have them
Carl, can I make
identified
a
on the
point
pad.
first?
I'm sorry?
Can I make a point first?
Can you appoint?
Can I make a point first? I just want to reiterate Carl's statements that, you know, we're going down this path to seek feedback at large. No decision is going to happen at any point in the very near future. That's a given. So we appreciate that everybody that's shown up who wishes to speak on this. Certainly want to hear your feedback. There'll be many more opportunities in the future to do so. This is just the start of a journey to see where it ends up. Nobody sitting in these seats wants to individually force anything upon anybody, but there's been lots of concerns brought to a number of us, and we're doing what our responsibility is.
Thank you.
Okay, who would, yes, sir. Name and address again, please.
Tom Kemper, 1113 Kingsway. We've had a wakeboard boat for 25 years. They want calm water. Last weekend, we took our boat out twice, once at 10 and once at 8. Otherwise, they don't run them at all because it's choppy water. You need that calm water. And then the other biggest thing I got is wake device. Now, when I'm on my stand-up paddleboard and a fully loaded pontoon boat comes down, that's a pretty good wave. It knocks me off of it.
Sir, keep this to wakeboards, or wakeboards. That's our only discussion here.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Anybody else?
Go ahead, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Rick Petfalski, 364 Quiet Waters Trail. A couple things. One of the things you're talking about is a referendum. As a property owner on Lake Arrowhead, I'm not a full-time resident. I live in Washoe County, so if you really want input from the property owners, a referendum is not the way to go. You guys do a very good job. I thank you for your service to the town. It's a thankless job. I know that firsthand.
He's a mayor in his.
But I urge you to get as much input as you can, but I would like you guys to make that choice based on the feedback you get from all the users up here. I know you want to keep this to wake boats. I do not own a wake boat, but we are avid water users, and I have problems with limiting this down to just one type of device or boat. You can create these problems that are created, can be created from all different types of vessels. It gets to be an enforcement issue. I'm sure your police officers don't want to spend their time. One more thing to look out on the lakes when they're out there. We don't have enough coverage on these lakes on busy holiday weekends as it is. It's just one more thing that they're being forced to deal with when there's probably higher safety issues to deal with. But my main issue is this: limiting this just to a certain type of boat is not going to solve the problems you have with erosion and waves and everything else, because those can be created by all types of boats. So thank you.
Thank you.
See another hand? Yes, sir.
Hi, Daryl Jury, 894 Norwich Court. I did send a PowerPoint off to you. I did extensive research around all of this. First of all, Lake Sherwood formed in the 60s, Camelot 1975, Arrowhead 1984. When those lakes were built, right, they were built for recreational use. Back at that time, wakeboards didn't exist. All of the shoreline back then was open and natural for the most part. As more boats got to use the lakes, right, people were forced to help prevent shore erosion, and so they started creating wood walls around the lakes. If any of you have been around a long time, you've seen those. That was in the 80s, right? In 2000s, as the lakes got busier and wake got higher, people were forced, all of the landowners or the property owners along the lake were forced to start putting in these riprap, walls and so forth to prevent the wake. My point here is that these lakes, when they were developed, they were developed in the 60s and 70s when we didn't have a lot of these different motors and so forth, right? And so as times progress, We need to progress. Just like when highways were built originally, they were not intended for these heavy trucks, right? And so what have we done? We've started to limit weight limits on highways, right? State highways, county highways, and so forth, based on how heavy a vehicle is. We should start looking at same thing when we're looking at our lakes. How are they intended? What was the intended use of those things? I've got several studies here that show that, contrary to other people's beliefs, pontoon boats and so forth, even water ski boats, do not create the same amount of wake. There's studies from the University of Minnesota that I've quoted in the PowerPoint that I've sent out, from Quebec. Many different cities have done studies on this, and they say that the wake from a wake boat, those wakes, those waves, are 3 to 4 feet high on average. Right? A typical pontoon boat, maybe 1 to 2 feet high. And that's if a pontoon boat's pulling like a tuber or somebody like that as well. So the impact, and you'll see it in the PowerPoint that I have here as well, from a wakeboarding, wake surfing person is 3 times that of a standard wake. Now picture a child, an average 10-year-old who stands 54 inches high, right, and he's out playing in 2 or 3 feet of water out in front of their property. What happens when a 2-foot or 3-foot wave comes by to that child? Right, so most parents don't let their children right now, at least around Lake Camelot where I'm at, play in the water, during the busy times, because they're afraid that they're going to get beat up in the water, with the wakes and so forth. So I ask you this, right? So the intention of these lakes was for everybody to use, for the kayaks, for the canoes. Try taking a canoe or a kayak out on the lake on a weekend. Can't be done anymore between 10 and 8 p.m. And if you haven't seen any wakeboard boats out there, I drove up to my property tonight on Camelot, and from my driveway I can see a wakeboard boat out there right up along the shore creating a ton of wake. It happens constantly. They're out there all the time. It's not something that people just use, at 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. They're out there constantly on the weekends. Most of our neighbors won't even go out on the lake anymore because the wakes are so bad. And I tell you what, I can sit mowing my yard out front, sitting in the house watching the TV show. I can tell you when a wakeboard comes by, or a wake surfer, because the music is blaring, right? Because they try to listen to music as they're doing their surfing type thing. So it's a noise ordinance as well. So, from a safety standpoint, it endangers swimmers, it swamps boats, it knocks people off piers, right? There's a ton of studies out there. There's only one study out there that says that a wake boat does not create as much wake as a pontoon boat. And guess who that was done by?
I read that one. It was about
the
3 years
Boating
ago.
Association, right?
It was 3 years ago that came out.
The
Yes.
people that want to sell wake boats, right? Every other study out there says they're a detriment. They create algae blooms. We've got Arrowhead taking place right now, right? Part of that is the props are tilted so much, they ruin the habitat for fish down there. They stir up the phosphorus and the nitrates in the water, and they create those algae blooms. It's a proven fact. I ask you guys to go out and do some research on this. I've done a bunch of it on this PowerPoint, and it's detrimental. The state of Alabama has banned wake boats, right? Because they know it causes erosion, it causes safety concerns for people on the lakes. The majority of the people don't have those. The lakes were not built for those types of boats. Let the majority of the people enjoy the lakes.
Thank you.
Thank
We have been looking at research, and that's what brought all this about, so.
I will include the PowerPoint as part of the packet next meeting, so it will go on the website and be part of the public document, and I will email it. I'll forward it to you, if not tonight, tomorrow morning.
Okay. Tom, come up, please.
Boy, I wouldn't want to be in any of your guys' chairs right now making this decision. I don't totally disagree with the gentleman that spoke before me. I live on Lake Sherwood. I pick up my riprap all the time. But how do you tell one boat that they can't be on the lake, and then you allow the jet skis to zip and zag and everything else? The most important thing is nobody's staying away from our shores. That 100-foot rule or 200-foot rule for jet skis, my gosh, they're coming 20 feet within your boat lift. Common courtesy and common sense would make this whole town function a lot better. But we have, I'm not going to say weekenders that it's party time, but it is. I see it at the golf course. There's a different crowd on the weekend than there is during the weekday, okay? It's time to party. Well, some of us, with the music, You all know I got to work on Sunday too. Saturday's not my party night. We hear music blasting too. You guys, I don't know how you can discriminate against one boat over the other. Yes, okay, let's limit it to 25 horsepower. That knocks out a whole group of people then. And then what's going to happen to our property values?
We're talking wake boats here. Just keep it
The,
on.
the wakeboard boats, I don't know what is the right decision for this board or this town to make. They do make bigger waves.
You might not have to limit it to boats, you might just limit the activity.
There's more than one solution, hopefully, so.
there's
and
a-
we're not
I wanna
setting
affect my-
anything right now.
But you guys are in a bad spot right now.
Had one more person, Cheryl was also signed up.
Cheryl?
I don't have anything else to say other than what I said last month. I agree with everything that this gentleman here has said, that it's.
You want to come to the?
Sorry.
Sorry.
I'm like, I don't have anything to say, and then I keep talking.
I get accused of that all the
You
time.
got 3 minutes to say nothing.
I mean, I agree with everything that this gentleman was saying, and I've been to this meeting before. I've also done my research, and I forwarded things to the board. And I had a situation again over the weekend with a dog that was in the water that, and it was specifically caused by a wake enhancement on a boat where the dog went under because of the waves. And so it's not only a safety, it's a erosion, it's, the algae for the fish that we spend a lot of time and effort trying to enhance. So I just want to reiterate that, and again, appreciate the efforts that the board is taking to continuously talk about this. I don't think that there is a really easy answer to it, but I think that something needs to be done, and whether that's, limited hours, or, some other type of ordinance that is applied to other boats as well. I don't know, but I know
That's
we're
why we
we're
want to extend
talking.
this out. We want,
Yeah.
if there's options out there we're not aware of, are there other solutions? Don't know.
Right.
So. Lori?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. No, I have to address your concern as a board member here. First, on the last one, you put it on here specifically as wake boats. Okay, and like I said, I put this out there to everybody because I didn't know what, and the reason I said that, I didn't know what they look like, so I went out looking. Maybe I picked a bad time of day to look. And I want to see one of these in action. I believe it because I hear about the damage. But I am concerned about limiting it to a certain type of boat.
Hold on. We're not at that discussion right now. That's going
Excuse
to
me,
be.
you keep shutting me down.
I'm not
Can
shutting you
you-
down. That's, our discussion is, we're letting the folks talk out here. We will come to the discussion on different boats down the road. Right now, I'd like to keep the discussion on eligibility to vote, who we want to give their opinions, as well as find out a good format to getting this to the folks. Okay, it is wake boats, okay?
Excuse me, just a minute, Mr. Chairman. It says right on here on our agenda item, continue conversation on safety concerns, lake bed soil disruption, and shoreline erosion caused by wake manipulating devices.
Yes, and I modified that at the beginning of this discussion, okay? I modified
You
it.
can't modify it unless we have a motion. Is that correct, Mr. Attorney?
It's correct. As part of a conversation, which I think is the only point that we're at this point.
Do we need a motion to, or can we, all I'm trying to say is that if we're gonna talk about lake soil disruption, the first gentleman that came up and spoke was correct. He said that anything can disrupt our soil disruption. And I've been to 2 different meetings now where people have spoke for this whole board. I'm part of this whole board. And I think there's things about safety and soil disruption. Continue the conversation. Aren't we having a conversation here, a board with our constituents?
Yes, and we're still gathering information. We're not even at that.
Discussion and possible action.
We are still gathering information. There's a lot out there yet, we still don't know. Anything else?
Well,
Dan?
I think I mentioned this last month, and one of the gentlemen mentioned it here this time. Yes, the advisory referendum is great. That's only going to get the input of those of us that are voting residents of the town. We need to have that second piece out there that gets the input from the remainder of the town property owners, because those people that have bought property up here, they spend a significant amount of tax dollars that supports our life here. So, And I don't think we're trying to limit it to just to a referendum. I think
No.
the discussion is that there will be multiple ways, and I just want to reiterate that we need to have multiple ways of getting input from people, particularly those that don't regularly, maybe they're only here 2 or 3 weeks a year in total, but they still own an expensive piece of property up here.
Yeah, initially we talk about a referendum, but again, the weakness there is that you're only talking about eligible voters here. So you got folks that own property, but you also have people that rent property that would have a say in the matter. But people that own property that don't live here have no say. Another option on that is to utilize the Tri-Lakes voting registration, because that includes all the owners of property in the Tri-Lakes area. And that's another source. But again, we don't have to limit it to 1 or 2. That's what the discussion I'd like to see is how do we expand on that?
Well, I think that it somewhat dovetails because we need to know what we're asking before we would get input.
Right.
So if you have the advisory referendum, that you still could do that. That could be one piece. You still could have the online survey or surveys here at town hall. You could do some straw polling within the timeframes when people come into town hall or for taking out permit. I mean, but we have to develop what are we asking.
Well, yeah, well, we're not there yet. Let's decide who should have the input, and it could be everybody. But you want to put, assign it, control it. You also want to know how do you get that information out to everybody. So
Well, there's an educational aspect to it too that we can't forget, right? So,
Yep.
great, I appreciate you finding the information you did. I'm sure we're gonna use elements of it, but we have to make sure that we're not distributing biased information either, right? To the points that were made. And also, let's start with best practices on our lakes. That can happen tomorrow. Like at Camelot, we have often posted, hey, if you're wake surfing, please stay in the middle of the lake. A lot of people, especially that are newer, they're saying, oh, I'm going slow, I need to be closer to shore, or, at the 100-foot mark or less, if there's no common sense, to Tom's point. That's step one that the town needs to start pushing at this level.
Sir?
I also think it's a density issue.
Yes.
Because you have so many more people up here with all different kinds of boats and all different kinds of interests and all different kinds of activity, and they're all on the lake at the same time. And it's not just holiday weekends anymore. I mean, if you go out on the 4th of July, and it was even like Sunday and Monday when people are starting to go home, it's a density issue. I mean, Lake Arrowhead wasn't that busy on Sunday, but Camelot, I don't think you could have got one more person on that lake. I mean, honestly, how do you get anything, whether it be this kind of a boat or somebody on a stand-up paddleboard? I mean, and there were swimmers in between the boats, and there were jet skis, and there were dogs chasing tennis balls. Where are you gonna put all those people? You're gonna get more people. It's a density thing. So you could start limiting types of boats. Yeah, you can put surveys out there, but you have to tell people what you're surveying.
I don't think you should be focusing on boats. I think you should be focusing on the activity. For example, wake surfing and boats that are operating in transition and not on plane. If you looked at just those 2 or 3 aspects, you could eliminate a lot of what we're talking about. We also already have a noise ordinance, and I would suggest that our police department be equipped with equipment that can measure that noise.
Sir, would you like to come to the speak?
Will you just say your name and address again? Because
Jeremy, 1141 Antler Road. I guess my question is,
Jeremy, we need your last name too.
McDonald.
Common
Is it,
spelling?
huh?
McDonald, common spelling?
Yes.
And 341 Antler.
Is it the noise? Is it the, well, I don't know what you're going after or what you're looking at.
We're discussing wave actions and,
Not music.
no,
Okay.
no, that's not
So
part
we
of
don't
this
need
conversation.
a DNR with a check-in noise?
Well, that aside,
that was a
it's just,
comment
no,
earlier.
Separate issue.
Okay, so it's just the waves that you're concerned about. I have a boat, and you more than welcome to come ride with us. We
Like
live
this
on Lake
boat here? Like that one?
That exact boat, yes.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
I live on Lake Sherwood, and we stay in the big water. I think we respect everybody on the water. We don't go through the narrows. The boat barely goes out on the weekend. If it goes out, it's Sunday afternoon. I think you have to have your head on you gotta be smart with the boat.
And you can't fix stupid with laws, you
Well,
know?
you can do the same thing on a pontoon and go 10 feet from my dock and roll me over too. So it's just good practice. I can go down the highway at 200 miles an hour and kill somebody, but if I did 55 and followed the rules, it'd be fine. So, let me know. I'll give
Alright.
you guys all a ride. I'll let my kid drive you, and I think it's totally safe if you do it the right way.
Thank you.
If more than 3 of you go, please remember we have to post that.
At the same time.
Yes, up to the podium, please.
I just have a question. Mary again, 358 Leeds. And just for the record, we used to make a lot of waves back in 1999 without a wake
Not
board.
that big.
But we were smart. We followed the rules. Anyway, does the town of Rome offer boater safety anymore?
We used to do that when my child, I
Anymore?
talked
Does
to
it
our
offer
police-
anymore?
No, and
We need to get back, send these kids with a bagged lunch
so
like we
busy.
did
I know.
to all our kids for 4 days to the town of Rome for boater safety, period.
You familiar with that?
And the boat patrol police taught them, including you and my kids. They came for 3 hours every morning, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
Yeah,
Thursday.
my son took it.
They learned how to put out a boat fire at the last day, and they were done, and they passed. And the guys told them, if I stopped you on the lake, you better know all the rules that I teach you. And I'll tell you, the kids did. And that's what needs to happen. You got to teach them what the boat rules are, and then hold them accountable as parents.
Okay, thank you. Good
Whether it's
information.
100 feet, 200 feet, people don't even know what boater safety on Camelot, Sherwood, and Arrowhead are.
Granted.
So
Group.
we need to get back to boater.
Mary and last name?
Carbajal, Carabahal. We should support boater safety for adults and children. Once again,
Sir? Yep. Podium, please.
Again, Daryl Jury. I agree. We need to have more boater safety classes, but it's not necessarily.
Folks, hey. Quiet back there, please.
I agree with the boater safety piece, but it's not necessarily just the people from around here. It's those out-of-towners and weekenders that come that create all of this. Most lakes right now are moving from 200 feet from shore to 500 feet from shore for wake boats, some as much as 1,000 feet. Most of our lakes are less than 500 feet wide in spots. So again, I'm with Bob over here. I believe that it's not about the boats, it's about the activity. And the wake boats right now, if don't allow wake surfing, then we're not going to have the props tilted down, eroding the shores or the lake bottoms and the shores. So again, I like your train of thought.
Thank you. Anybody else? Sir?
I have one comment on the type of boat, and again, Michael Fisk, Falkirk, it's not really the type of boat, it's the plane, right? So we understand this, we're not banning their boat. They can use that same boat to pull a water skier, and it creates virtually no more wake than my neighbor's pontoon. But when they manipulate the boat and the angle of the motors and everything, that's what creates the wake. Their boat is not going to be banned. Although those boats are usually very high horsepower, on a small lake like that, I mean, really, do you need a boat with 250 horsepower on Lake Camelot where I live? I mean, you can't even get it going to its top speed. You can barely accelerate it. But it's not the boat, again, it's the plane. I recently had a problem with my frontage on the lake and looked into a price to fix it. Now, that'll put you in some sticker shock if you want to talk about erosion, and it's about $25,000 to have rocks and everything put back in there. I'm not against erosion. I'm all for having people on boats or boats on the lake. It's the cost that is any additional wake is going to cost me. I have to pay for it. Not the gentleman with the boat.
Thank you. All right.
The reason, Carl, I brought that up is because on the last agenda, you had it on there specifically speaking to certain items that were creating the problem. And that's why if it's those particular items that are creating the problem, maybe we speak to those, not banning the type of boat like that first gentleman said, because then we're going to specific types of items. And I understand what Cheryl said at our first meeting, her shoreline's getting destroyed. But I've seen pontoon boats and people on jet skis come up to our beach clubs on Arrowhead, come up and actually churn up the soil and the weeds, and that's the lake bottom. So those are other types of vehicles. They're not just wake boats. So if you're talking about certain things that are being added to these boats that are the problem, then maybe those are what we talk about.
Don't disagree. It's open conversation going down the road. We do need more information because we've only had the one study, right, from Presque Isle?
We had several
Well,
very good ones.
There's more coming, but again, like the one, like the one gentleman said, there was a study about 3 years ago, and this is the one that DNR was pushing, that the wakes were no worse than wind and other boats, and that was a study done by the Wake Boat Association. And it was, you look at it and it's just, you believe that or you believe your own lying eyes. So it's not against that at all. There is more to study. That's why this is gonna take a period of time to come up with something reasonable. But again, I'd like to get back on track.
So getting back on track, I don't know where we're at with this. Are we asking town staff to start to assemble information from credible sources?
No,
Or
well,
what are
yeah,
we doing?
yeah, we can start gathering data, but okay, who should be eligible to vote? Do we just allow anybody, not necessarily vote? The referendum is not binding, by the way, and it allows folks that don't have a skin in the game to vote, and folks that do, but it eliminates folks that own property that don't have a chance to vote. So I mean, I think we just need to solidify that, and it could be several sources. And then again, we have to go back to Jamie and say, okay, what's the best communication device to get this out to the folks? And we want to get, like you said, non-biased opinion information out there. We want to get feedback if we're going to do town halls, and this is going to take a period of time. But we got to have a starting point. Okay.
Sorry, just a comment. Is there any way that we could come up with the question that we're trying to address or trying to ask? And then, like we had mentioned at the last meeting, is go back to the associations and ask them to communicate through Sherwood, Camelot, Arrowhead to their members, their paying members, what it is that this question is, to get feedback and bring that back, and then, take another step at that point.
Yeah, the more information we get, the better. More feedback, the better. Sir, you want to come back up, please?
Just quickly, two things. Mequon's, the study on Mequon I find interesting. They don't have a lake in their community. They have the Milwaukee River, so it's a
Right.
completely different effect on what you're looking for. Might be closer to the end of Arrowhead where I live, but that's about it.
We did look at Mequon. Presque Isle is another one we looked at, and they had a lot of studies done. Again, it's anecdotal at this point. We'd like to find more.
And then as far as gathering input, just some advice. There's a business out there called Community Perceptions. They also own a business called School Perceptions. They specialize in doing community surveys. So if you're going to do that, the data they get is 100% great. They'll let you, once they set it out, you'll know how people feel. But if you're going to do that, there's other things you may want to include on it, because if you're going to ask questions and spend the money on it,
Yeah.
there's a whole plethora of things that you can get information on, and people are willing to give feedback on. Thanks.
Thank
Can I
you.
just ask you, did you all look at the ordinances that Attorney Flanagan and Jamie included the last time? Did you find that some of those actually, they already did all of the work that you're asking them to repeat, and some of those actually were pretty fitting?
I think there was
They
really
went
only
too
one
far.
that passed an ordinance, right?
They went too far, and again, are there other options out there? But they have a bar on the side of the boat, and that, to me, I don't think anybody uses a bar for wakeboards. They use it for learning how to
Skiing.
ski and
Barefoot.
barefoot. But they had a bar on there, so that didn't make sense, in my opinion. Yes, Donna, come up.
Donna Hasdell, 241 Penhurst. I just want to read from the University of Minnesota, just a real quick recap of University of Minnesota study that they did in 2020, that the wake boats are when they are operated in their typical mode, waves from wake boats need to travel a greater distance, more than 500 feet, to decrease to the same height, energy, and power as those from traditional boats. And how many areas in our lakes we don't even have 500 feet. So the boats are actually designed to create this much bigger wake.
Okay, thank you.
But I just want to make the point again, it depends on the manner in which they're operated. There's several modes of operation, there's different activities. A wakeboard boat pulling somebody on a wakeboard is not going to throw as big of a wake as somebody who's trying to wake surf, especially if they've got one of the latest and greatest boats. It's significantly different. So again, activities play into it, not just the boat. So we shouldn't focus on just a wake boat.
That same study says 3 times for wakeboarders and 5 times for wake surfing.
But then also to Supervisor Bauerheit's comment earlier, we should also be going after people that are operating in transition going down the lake, either be it no wake or be on plane.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
So-
Nick?
Yeah, I just want to make a general comment, because a comment was made about ordinance and what we supplied you with. That was for background information, of
Right.
course. Just so it's very clear to anybody out there watching or listening, we have not proposed any ordinance
I didn't
language.
say that.
Well, no, I'm just, I didn't say you did. Just saying so it's clear.
Right.
The only thing that has been proposed at this point, as a starting point, is a question to begin working off of if, and as the administrator pointed out, if you decide that you want to get input on it, part of the question is, what are you gonna ask, right? How are you gonna ask it? I think we heard some comments here stating that importance as well. Because it was discussed at the last meeting that a referendum is one option to get public input, we started with just a very vanilla question to start from. And that's all that's been done at this point. That just so it's clear, we haven't drafted ordinances for consideration. There is nothing that has been proposed at this point other than some background information for consideration.
Absolutely, and I should have clarified that further. It's just, I simply brought them up because 3 different places have gone through all of the pains and everything that we're going through, and they've got some pretty good language on exactly what we're talking about that I thought was very suitable that we could have built off of moving forward. That's all. Thank you, Nick.
I think one more piece about input and determining all the ways we're gonna get input and who would provide that input is times in which to provide it. So if you did a referendum question and then let's say you do distribute it out to all of the property owners associations, then if I voted on the referendum, can I also vote in my property owners association? And how do we track, right? There's a piece of on how we determine how we're getting public input on the weight of each of those pieces of public input. So I think if there's a determination on who's going, if every property owner is going to provide input, then do we determine the method in which that's just gonna happen and you get that one piece of input instead of series of pieces that you're putting a weight to?
Okay, but it's not truly a vote, it's information gathering, so that's what we're looking for initially. And then once we have the information, then we start making determinations.
But that's a valid point, Jamie, because you could have somebody that lives in the Tri-Lakes district and they'll vote via Tri-Lakes, and then you have somebody that's with their lake association, and then you have the community at large, and then you have a legal voter that votes on the referendum. So how does that get weighted?
You just look at their addresses, monitor the address.
Well, you wouldn't be able to monitor the address if you would ask.
Not in the referendum, but the other ones, yes. So you do a Survey Monkey, you can send out specific unique codes, and it would identify them. You can send it to certain addresses. You can do a mailing to those addresses with a code. I mean, there's things that handle it, and that gentleman, the information you had in the back there, is that specific and unique?
Yeah.
So.
And that's obviously affirmed that you would pay, and there's.
It's important.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, Marquette University is a leading in polling information
Yes.
across the state, and could also, I mean, if we're looking to use a paid service in order to do this, there would be varieties of options.
look at the costs, and I think.
We've got
things
time.
work well.
Chairman, why don't we just
Yes.
develop what the questions are first?
So is that the homework?
I got
I think the homework's gonna be
lean,
doing some
fighting
more
machine,
research.
right, Jamie?
But there's, I mean, can we agree, that come back to our next meeting and with suggestions on techniques and eligibility? I mean, we can firm it down, we can do them all, but you still, as long as you got the addresses, again, the referendum's gonna be a difficult one, but everything else you can pretty much control.
So I do think the PowerPoint sort of talks about what are the different techniques that we could utilize. If we wanted to drill down those techniques more, we could. I'm not,
Plus, we would have town halls.
that public meetings
Yes.
is located there. And it certainly, we have in here online survey data. We can formulate out how that online survey data would be collected.
Yeah, I thought this was well put together. Is everybody happy with what she had sent out? Looked at it? Sideways.
How are we putting this into action for the next meeting then? What do we wanna see as that action item for next meeting?
Jamie, am I wrong? I don't see in here anything about boats in transition. I don't see anything about limiting wake surfing behind a boat without a handle or rope.
So I'm hearing two things. I'm hearing chairman say we need to determine who we're asking, and then that's the question.
Right,
So
that's the
if
question.
the homework for the next meeting is what's the question, then we could have that discussion and staff could prepare potential questions that could be asked.
And we can ask questions, but we also hope the residents and property owners can also ask questions. So we're not gonna have all the questions and answers, that's for sure.
Provide input on what the questions should be.
Yes.
Well, I don't think we should overly complicate this thing either.
It's a difficult, it's not a simple, uncomplicated problem, so.
But I think some thought needs, Bob, you bring up a good point, because the more you complicate it, you gotta think about the enforcement end of that.
Right.
That's
It's gotta
the
be
thing
enforceable, whatever you decide,
Court,
if you decide anything.
that's the cart in front of the horse. Let's
No,
figure out
but-
what the questions that make sense. You can gear the questions so they can be enforced, but that's another issue. And we'll have to involve the police chief on that. That's not us, we're not experts on that. But that's after the fact. Let's keep this in order. So, okay. Come back, make a decision on your presentation here.
She's kinda asking for direction right now.
Yeah. I don't know, has everybody read all this?
Yes.
Everybody?
Seems to be all about the process.
It's the process. Define the process and then move forward. We can start asking questions and we can start gathering information. Start setting up town halls, start setting up survey monkeys or referendums or whatever we're gonna do, but we can discuss that in the next one. Eligibility is important too.
Next meeting, why don't I see if I can price a couple of options to what Mayor was speaking about, if we did utilize a service just for comparison purposes for that survey piece.
Okay.
And then we can start the conversation of what we're asking at the next meeting.
Sounds good. Nick, do we
Yeah,
need to
the
do
other thing
anything?
I would
Yes, sir.
suggest,
One last statement. Again,
Gerald Jury, and someone just shared online, just so everybody's aware, that the town of Hayward has written an ordinance around this, so it might be something that you want
It
to
was
look at.
provided in the town board's last packet.
Yep.
Is it?
We had
Okay,
it, yep.
Thank you.
Thank
Along
you.
with Sawyer County's entire discussion about whether or not to implement.
Awesome. I looked at the packet and didn't see it, just like in the packet, I did not
Last
see the.
packet, last
Okay.
meeting.
I did not see the signs that were supposed to be posted
Last
either in the
packet.
packet. Okay.
Yep, that was conversation at the prior town board meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman, to your point, nothing needs to be done
Okay.
as far as action here today. I think you've given some direction on what would be prepared for the next meeting, and what we will discuss.
You know,
All righty?
Well, method, just maybe if that is a question, methods of
Methods?
public participation or input and developing of the question.
The questions,
Two
right.
pieces for the next.
We can start doing that, yeah. But we're still gonna need more information. I mean, there's probably more data out there we haven't seen yet. so.
Absolutely.
And eligibility.
Yeah, that goes to method.
Yeah. All right, number 12, discussion and possible action. Begin 2023 budget priorities and calendar discussion.
Thank you all.
thank you for coming.
Lots of big topics tonight. Okay, great. So, exciting time of year. It's time to start the 2023 budget. There's a memo in the packet. It's always, every year we kind of start with this introductory memo about if there are identifiable priorities as department heads put together budgets that we want to make sure that are at it before the first timeframe that we will assemble on special meetings as a board, and I do have 4 meeting dates included in the memo. Just a little bit of outline of where we are now. It's a little bit early to determine pay raises for next year, but we will keep an ear out and ask questions of municipalities across the state to see what they're doing, because we like to stay comparable. There is a 3% wage increase within the police association contract that was agreed to last year. We are part of the state public employers health insurance program, and we don't have those rates yet. They're not expected to arrive until August. Health insurance is always a big determining factor in overall budget. We did implement the wellness incentive last year that helps us to somewhat control if the increase is large in supplementing that through HSA. But that will always be a big item for us once we get those final numbers. I did put in the memo, we do know that this year WEA Trust, which is a popular option among staff, is no longer issued with the state. So we will have several people that have to make an adjustment within open enrollment, but the state has advised us that they will have additional providers that they will add to the slate of providers with that WEA Trust, no longer providing health insurance in the state of Wisconsin. They will provide other insurances, but not health insurance. All other insurances, our umbrella policy, general liability, commercial, did go up slightly, but considering what we have experienced in the past, it was a $10,000 increase for our next renewal year, and we did increase our cyber coverage and data compromise coverage with our provider. We won't know our net new growth and equalized value until August 1st, and then final numbers come out August 15th. We will yet to determine our meeting with Ellers to do our review of our TID, and then just again echoing that piece about priorities between this meeting and the next meeting. If there are additional priorities that we want to add to that conversation, the next piece of this is department heads are going to get they're halfway through the year, their 6-month mark numbers. They'll do their projected year ends, and then they'll start to put together a 2023 budget, and then we'll walk through that process in those special meetings. So what I would hope yet tonight is that we could determine that the 4 dates that I have on the memo do work in everyone's calendars. Timeframes can be flexible, but that will get them added to the schedule, and that will allow me to get the memo out to the department heads to say, here's the pieces to block on your calendar to develop our timeline. Then you see in there, I have that Thursday, November 17th would be our annual budget meeting.
So I would request that the September 27th meeting be moved back a day to the 26th so I could attend, and also the October 20th meeting, if that could be moved back to the 19th, I would be able then to attend all meetings.
I can't go on Wednesdays. Thursdays only work for me. Are there other dates, Jamie? That'll work for everybody?
Well, if everyone's looking at their calendars, we can have that conversation. So right now we know 15th would work, and we would do that.
Yeah.
And town board is at 5, 3 or 3:30.
That's the first meeting. I'd suggest 3.
3.
And we know October 4th would work, and that would be a Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
That's Utilities Day.
Do we do that anymore?
Yeah.
Is that serious? Is that happening next
It's
week?
as needed, as I
Yes.
recall.
Yeah.
before.
So they're meeting in August. So if they didn't meet, if they go every other month, they'd meet in August. They wouldn't meet in September. They'd meet in October. I don't know if earlier in the day. So Utilities meets at 10, and then if we did them back to back, we at 11. I'm not sure if that's a possibility.
You're talking for October 4th.
October 4th.
I can make whatever happen on that day.
Could we make 11 a.m. on October 4th work?
Instead of 3?
Yes.
Oh, on a Tuesday, that's fine. 11 a.m.?
Yep.
Yeah, that's fine. Is that the same for the 15th or 3 on?
15th would be 3 o'clock, and 4th would be 11.
That's fine.
Okay, so then.
But so the 20th doesn't work and the 27th doesn't work for Bob? Is that what he's saying? Is that what he said?
Yep. How do we feel about the 28th of September?
That's kind of, still doesn't work for me. The 30th works, or the 26th that week, or the following week, is I'm open.
I can't do the 26th.
I can't do the 30th.
Well, then, do it on the 27th, and I'll miss that meeting.
Time frame that day? 3 p.m. again for that one?
To be honest, there's a potential I might not be back from overseas yet on the 27th, depending on, I'm firming up plans right now, so.
You're flying?
Yep.
Good luck.
Maybe
Yeah.
stuck over there.
I if you let me participate remotely from an airport.
Okay.
Might be more enjoyable.
What time do you wanna do it on that Wednesday?
It's a Tuesday.
No, if
Or
we
what
went to
Tuesday does he, I
if
thought
we
he
went
said
to
the
the
28th would work, Bob. What time do you wanna do it Wednesday?
I can't do it. The 26th, the 27th, 28th, and 29th, I can't be here. I won't be here.
And 26 won't work for Dan, so if we did go 28th, was thinking that Dan would be back and we'd have 4, then we could be flexible on time frame for the 28th. And if we went later in the day, that would probably be better.
All right, what time on the 28th then, you said?
If we did 28th at 3 p.m.
And Dan, that'll work for Dan and Bob?
That won't work for
Doesn't
Bob.
work for Bob.
Okay,
There's no way for that to work for all 5 that week.
Yeah, so September 28th.
Pick a day.
Yep.
all right, it has to, I'll do Wednesday or Tuesday I can do, either day.
Yep, so the 28th at 3 p.m.
All right,
We're gonna go 28th at 3 p.m.
yeah.
Okay, then the week of October 20th. So October 20th would be right before town board, so you won't be at that town board, is what you're saying, Bob?
Yeah, I won't be at the town board. I won't be here the 20th through the 24th.
We could go 19th. I just had picked 20th because it would have, you'd have back to back. It would just.
Can we
make-
do the
look-
18th?
Yep.
Would that work for Dan? Are you traveling then, Dan? Or do we have plan commission that week, or?
No, plan commission would be the 11th. You could do the 18th, but we'd have to go late in the day because that's municipal court day, just to make sure the room would be available.
18th will not work for me.
Okay.
Okay.
Third Tuesdays are out for me.
So either go the 19th, and you could be flexible on time frame, or you go the 20th, and without Bob.
I can't do the 19th.
So it looks like the 19th is a good day then.
Either way, you lose Bob, or you lose Lori.
I thought you said the 18th.
No, 19th.
No, 18th you lose me.
Yeah.
I'll just change mine. Do the 19th.
Do the 19th.
Yes, yeah.
Time frame, 3 p.m.
Fine.
But, okay, reiterating for everyone's calendars, first meeting Thursday, September 15th, 3 p.m., second meeting Tuesday, September 28th, 3 p.m., Tuesday, October 4th, 11 a.m., and Thursday, October 19th, nope, that's a Wednesday. Wednesday, October 19th, 3 p.m.
A Tuesday the 4th at 11 a.m. You said, right?
Tuesday the 4th at 11.
All right. Much more bright-eyed and bushy-tailed in the morning.
I will do a calendar invite for that also, but then If you don't necessarily have priorities or other things that you wanted to share tonight, we'll add this agenda item back for the meeting 2 weeks from now, just to make sure that those are considered or programmed into budgets, and then we can have that conversation as we flow through the process.
13 is done?
We're
12 is
skipping.
done, I'm sorry? 12 is done?
Yep.
Number 14, discussion action. Approval of the various appointments to town Rome committees and commissions. A, Jackie Cole, Community Development Authority, to fill an unexpired 3-year term until May 1st, 2023. Aren't you glad you stuck around?
Motion to appoint Jackie Cole to the CDA position, expiring May 1st, 2023.
Second.
Any discussion? Anybody got any questions for Jackie, as if she's not? Oh, no. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Dates and items for future agenda meetings. 15 next agenda items.
You're gonna have number 11 back. It might be a slightly different wording.
It will be different.
You'll have number 12 and number 13.
Yes. Will we be talking about some of the things we would like to see in the budget?
Yes, it'll,
Okay.
that budget priority piece. Yep. We'll be looking to see if there are other
Like
priorities.
that one
we
I
want
sent
to add.
you, I'd like to, okay.
Yep.
There's some other ones I want to talk about too that I'll send you. Okay.
Yep. Do you want those put in, what you send me put into the packet, or you want to just bring up the discussion at the meeting?
Bring it up at the meeting, that's
Okay.
fine.
Any other items?
Um,
You'll at least have
One thing, will Chief Lovey be here? Just a thought, and my wife had mentioned it, and other folks. Have we sold the other police boat yet?
Yes. it's
We
fine.
did. I was wondering if it's, the board would consider operating 2 police boats on certain occasions. It is getting nuts out there. And they can't, the officers were doing a great job over 4th of July. I saw them, they were busy the whole time, and I just wondered if we ought to consider having a second operation going during busy times.
So I don't know that it's necessarily a possibility this season any longer, but it's something that we've talked about, if there could be some alterations made for next year.
Yeah.
But that would be more appropriately discussed by chief.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely need more staff.
Okay, number 16, next meeting date and time.
It will be,
We were
July-
I'm sorry. We're
Go ahead,
done
Lori.
with next items?
I thought so. Anything else?
did you want to add anything else?
I would like to talk about our road, if we could have that on our next agenda and maybe have Brad here. You had talked about,
Roads?
yes, you had talked about guarantees and that and sort of thing, and I'm surprised at how the surface is already breaking down in the Rome Town Center. Doesn't seem to be holding up, and you had talked about guarantees, and maybe he could be here for a discussion, or you could come back and we could talk about that and how the last couple of years, the paving that they're doing just doesn't really seem to be holding up, and it's coming off in like layers, and I'm just curious why the paving they're doing is just not holding up. And if we can have that discussion with Brad, or,
We can certainly add it to the agenda and ask if Brad would be available, if not for the next meeting, one in the
a
very near
future one.
I can ask the question about the RTC services, but if there are other specific roads that you have, if you could email them to me, because that helps to phrase.
Sure.
Yes.
Because they seem to be the ones that have just been in the last couple of years, and I'd like to maybe get a list of the ones that were done, and, like 16th Avenue, 15th, or the ones that have just recently been repaved, and why they're coming off in layers.
And if we could address that resident's concerns about his roads that was sent out to the board. Did you get that? Maybe you didn't see that.
Is that the same one you received?
Yes.
Lori forwarded.
But I realized that some of the board members' names weren't spelled right, and so I don't think, when I went back and reread it, when I sent them to you and I forwarded those to you with my response to him, I don't think Dan's name was spelled right, or Bob's. Did you got
I got it.
that? And Carl and I got it, so I don't think Dan and Bob's were spelt right, so I don't think they got it.
The 16th Avenue, we can have that one.
Bring the passer ratings and whatever, anything else appropriate. Did you give the meeting date and time?
Next meeting date and time is Thursday, July 21st at 5 p.m.
Can I get a motion for adjournment, please?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned.